Today, we're going to look at how B2W software elements can integrate with the QuickBooks accounting program from Intuit. This video will focus on the basic import capabilities found directly within QuickBooks. It's important to note that QuickBooks can be augmented by third-party products that can bring in more detail than the built-in tools, but using those tools will be covered in a different video. Many products across the B2W portfolio can integrate directly with QuickBooks in some way. Specifically, we can take an estimate from B2W Estimate and export out to a file that can be imported by QuickBooks to create either a cost budget for job cost or contract billing items with prices. You can then use our B2W Track program to capture daily information against the job through field logs. Those field logs can be exported out to help drive payroll processes, reducing the need to double enter employee hours in both B2W and QuickBooks. Finally, our B2W Maintain element has a similar capability to capture hours for mechanics from work orders and other activities, and send those hours to QuickBooks as well. Let's start with an estimate. Here, we have a pretty straightforward estimate that we've won, and now needs to be entered into QuickBooks. We'll simply export the estimate detail out. The export is an item-based export, meaning that each pay item within the estimate will directly relate to a QuickBooks service item. Now note that there are two ways to do this. You have the choice of sending over cost or price, and in this case, we'll send over a cost budget. This export will create a file that the built-in QuickBooks import tool can use. Now we can take this file and import it into QuickBooks. From the File menu, select Utilities. It's important to know you must be in single user mode when performing this function. If you're in single user mode, then select Import and IIF Files. Once the file you exported from B2W Estimate has been imported into QuickBooks, you can access the job we imported. You can get there either from an Estimates and Change Orders shortcut or through Customers. By default, you'll see a blank new estimate, but by clicking the back arrow, it will display the previous estimate, which is the one we just imported. Here you can see the pay items from the estimate are now service items in QuickBooks, complete with quantities, unit cost, and total cost. Now let's move over to the B2W Operational Suite. The two main ways that B2W Operations integrates with QuickBooks are by sending payroll information from B2W Track field logs and sending payroll information from B2W Maintain mechanic time cards. By recording employee hours for production and mechanic work, you can dramatically reduce the amount of time it takes to populate payroll information and reduce duplicate entry errors. There's a small amount of setup that clients need to do to allow B2W Track to send information to QuickBooks. B2W Client Services can help you with these B2W specific settings. In the QuickBooks add-in, you need to enter a few pieces of information that you must provide, but only once. Then, our export will automatically use it to create the export files that QuickBooks needs. You need your QuickBooks company name and create time. These values are provided within QuickBooks. You can and usually should set job name in job field description to yes, so the export includes the customer name and job name. The next three settings are to determine where certain information that QuickBooks needs comes from within the field log. Choose your item code source, so our system knows what value you want to export to match what QuickBooks is expecting for a service item name. Typically, it's the account ID, but you can use other settings. Next, choose your payroll item code source, or P-item code source. This tells B2W Track what to include with the employee hours to tell QuickBooks what rate level the hours are associated with. Labor type name is the most common choice, but others, even blank, allow for flexibility on how QuickBooks associates rates with the hours we send to it. Project code source allows you to include a QuickBooks class to be used in QuickBooks for filtering and reporting. Using these settings, clients can choose to send over a specific labor type or use the default pay rate for that employee in QuickBooks. We'll go into an existing field log here so you can see how we capture hours. It's important to note that we're showing a field log within the browser, but the exact same information can be captured using our B2W mobile app for crews in the field. Here's a simple example where we have a crew that spent their day on job QB 2021, our QuickBooks example job, and they spent 5 hours on common excavation and 5 hours on furnish and install 24-inch pipe. We had Aaron Baker, a loader operator, Bill Walker, an excavator operator, and Tom Willey, the foreman. Once a field log is submitted, a field log can be reviewed by field managers like PMs and supervisors before those field logs are handled by payroll, or they can be approved by payroll staff. Your company can decide what that workflow looks like. Once a field log is approved by field staff or payroll, it's eligible to be exported out of our system and into a file that could be given to QuickBooks. Managers or payroll, usually payroll, can go to a single place and export all approved field logs in one action. So in this example, I'll export 1 week's worth of field logs to my weekly payroll. Note that when you export a field log, the system sets the status to be transferred. This locks the field log to all who don't have special permissions. This also ensures that during the next export cycle, field logs that have already been transferred are not exported again. Now let's move into QuickBooks. The import for payroll is similar to the import for an estimate. From the File menu, select Utilities. Again, you must be in single user mode when performing this function. If you are in single user mode, then select Import and Timer Activities. Note, QuickBooks may warn you that this is an old version of the import. This is expected and not an issue. You will see a summary of the records imported. Viewing the report will give a more detailed breakdown of what was imported. To view the data you imported, go to Employees, Enter Time, Use Weekly Timesheet. Here, you can select an employee to see the time that we imported for them. As you can see, 1 whole week's worth of payroll has been imported from B2W Track, with no need for manual data re-entry. Finally, let's look at how B2W Maintain users can export mechanic time cards and send those to QuickBooks. Mechanics and managers can create time cards inside of B2W Maintain, either in the browser or through the mobile app. QuickBooks requires that time for mechanics be associated with a job. B2W Maintain allows that, as you can see here. You can record the mechanic and what labor type they are to be paid under. Hours entered under a work order create a time card that, like track field logs, can be approved, rejected, or edited prior to sending to QuickBooks. It's also important to know that from the browser or the mobile app, you can create time cards from working on equipment work orders or non-work order time. So you can use Maintain to capture time for anything, including inventory, parts runs, or whatever you might need to get mechanic hours to QuickBooks. Most of the mechanic time card export settings are the same as the ones needed for field log exports, with the exception of the last 2 that are needed for mechanics. The default customer job allows you to select what job will be used when putting time against a piece of equipment instead of a job. This setting allows you to further classify the equipment maintenance time based on the business unit of the employee or of the equipment. Once a time card is approved, it can be exported out. Now this time card can be imported into QuickBooks to drive payroll. The process is really identical to importing time activities from field logs and provides the same result. Hours captured in B2W Maintain populate employee timesheets in QuickBooks without manually re-entering data. Thanks for watching the B2W Software QuickBooks integration video. If you have any additional questions, feel free to contact your B2W sales rep or our integration team through client services.